Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to my channel, and today in this video, which is the 13th video of this series, we are going to introduce a new entity to our application, and that's the client entity. The reason to add this entity to our application is that a project would ideally belong to a client, and I want the ability to have some level of estimation, time reports and stuff at a client level. And hence it does make sense to add that entity. So we will initially start with the idea that a client has multiple projects and one project and projects belongs to one client. Okay, so let's get started, and using the test driven development, let's see how we can achieve this. So let's start with our PHP storm, and the first thing that we would like to do is add a test for our model. Let me first see what all tests we have inside our model. We only have a model project test, which is fine. We will need to have one test for this, and we will also need one more test called model client test. So the first test that I would like to write is that a client has a project, and with this what would happen is I would be able to create my model, my migration, factory policies and everything. Okay, so what I will do is I'll say client equals, kind of need a client, so maybe I'll first create the model, because otherwise imports and all we will have to handle. So I'll need a model. By the way, this is the Laravel idea. I mean, you can potentially, if you have it, you will be saving a lot of time. But if you don't have that, what would need to be done is, let me show you. You can do PHP artisan make model with migration factory, and if you need a controller, you can do that, and then client. Okay, and this, what happens is, this plugin Laravel idea allows me to do it through this GUI. So if you don't have it, don't stress about it. You can still go ahead and create everything. Okay, table name is client's name. What all fields do we need? I'll need a name. I'll need an is active, type boolean, and that's about it. Rest everything can be just fine. I do have a policy, so let's do that. Generate, and I'll have a few files that will get created. So let's look at the migration. We have a name and we have is active. I'll do an index on this because I know I'll be writing multiple queries on that. Now the next thing is client, and we have two fillable fields, and then we have our factory. Why don't I also add a state, which is client is inactive? So I have just added one method over here, which is inactive, returns the state with is active equals false. So by default, I can make it true. It just helps me in having different kinds of clients during the test. And then I have this policy. Now, right now we are not doing too much with the policy, but I know that at some point I will be having complex rules. But for now, what I will just do is, if not auth guest, this is what I would just do. So what will happen is, this is auth guest. If it is false, then basically it will return true because I'm doing a not. I know it's a little confusing, but that's fine. I need it on all of them, so I'll just add that. And yes, we are done. So now let's go back to our test. So we need the client model. I'll do a factory create, So we get a client and then I'll do project. Here's one quick little thing. I have created the migration for client and I'll need a column in the projects table called client ID. I'll show you. So project table. Okay, I'll need something over here. However, right now, because I haven't gone to production, I still have the liberty to add certain columns. But if it is something which you have gone to production already, you will not be able to do that. So I'll show you what I mean. So see, here I have a client ID column. Okay, this is already added because the thing is I had already written the code before I do the present. I record the video, so I have that in place. So I'm adding this one column in my current migration, which is client ID. And there will be certain replications of that. First of all, I'll have to do a nullable as well, because there can be certain projects which doesn't belong to a client. So yeah, client ID is added to the migration. Let me go to the project model and I'll add it over here. Okay, I'll go to my factory. Although it is nullable, I can still do something like client ID is this. And let me see, I think this is all fine. One test shows risky, which means the rest of the things are perfect, no problem so far. And now it means what I can do is over here, I can say client ID is the ID of the client, which we just created on top. And then we will do an act and assert. I'll expect that the client projects, which will be a relation that I'll add, and because it has many, client has many projects, so I'll do each of them to be an instance of project. Oops. Okay. Now obviously this is going to fail because I don't have that relation. Okay, but when I go over here, let me close that window. Yeah, so I have, this is client has projects, return. Right, so I'll just add the return type as well. And because isActive is a Boolean field, I will also add the casts so that it knows a little more about my model. Okay, so this is done, and now ideally it should pass, and it does. Okay, similarly, I should have one test for the project, which is project belongs to a client. Okay, I just realized this is test. I'll do it to keep things consistent. Now in here, how do we test it? Again, I think the most of the code will be kind of same. So I'll have a client and then I'll have this and that, and then the reverse, which is expect that, by the way, I need the project. I'll take that in a variable. So expect the project client, and now because I don't have the relation, it won't show up, but to be an instance of the client class. Okay, client class as in the client model. So now I don't have this, obviously this means it will fail. It is. And now if I go to my project model, what I will have to do is just come over here and say that it's a client returns this belongs to client class belongs to. And now if I go to my test, which is not this one, inside the project, and I hit refresh, I run my test, and this is fine. So the relation is kind of ready. We have 52 tests now. Okay, this is working fine. And now what I want to do is, if we come over here, I would want the client name to be visible on this project listing. So how do we do that? Well, first of all, let me close everything. And I have a project listing test. I'll rename this. I just realized that it doesn't start with a page. So let me do that. And in here, this is the wrong one. I'll have page project listing test. Yeah. So my last test is shows end projects only. So I'll add one more test over here, which is shows the name of the client when a project is mapped. So what do? We have a client. We get a project. I need to set the client ID. And then I need to find some way to reduce this or simplify this in some way. I'll have to look at the documentation. So yeah, I need to now go to the route, which is, let's say I'll have a, no, I already have that route, which is my project index. And what I want to do is assert, okay, and then assert C text. What do I see? I would like to see the client name. Okay, so it will fail right now because it will not be able to see the client name. But then how do we show that? Let's write that code. So project controller, we come over here and we know that a project has a client. So maybe we will first load the relationship. Okay. Somehow the hinting is not working. Now it should, yes. And in here, what I would do is I'm showing my namespace here. This is the diff for humans, which basically means this is the timestamp. So before this, I will have project, client, and then name or empty. Okay, because I know that in some cases the client may not exist. So as you can see right now, I'll show my database as well. The clients table has the name as this. For recording, let's say this is my client name, so I'll just refresh. Can you see this is the client name? It went for a toss because my TD should say client name. Yeah, this is fine. So project name, client name, and what happens is this project has a client ID, but if I do a null refresh, it is not visible. So that's why we want to get that. I'll see if I can make it completely optional, but for now it is fine. My ID is 1 and this is visible. So yeah, that's about it, guys. That's how easy it was to set a new entity to our application, which is the client entity, and we are able to map it to a project, and we are also able to show it on the table over here as well. So thanks for watching. If you like this video and the series so far, do click on the thumbs up icon, subscribe to my channel, and yes, if you have any questions or any suggestions, feel free to drop a comment or join the Discord server and have a chat with me. I'll be more than happy to discuss certain things on that. As I said earlier in my videos as well, this is a series where I'm building this project management kind of a tool on top of GitLab APIs, and I'm pretty excited about it. And yes, if you feel this is something which is interesting, let's discuss. See you in the next video.